Hello and welcome to another segment of DSU Inside Perspective. I'm Carlos Holmes, and this is the show where we talk with faculty, staff, students, guests about some of the things that are going on in the world or some of the great things that are going on at Delaware State University. Today, for the first time, I have Dr. Melissa Harrington here. Dr. Melissa Harrington is the director of our Delaware Center for Neuroscience Research, and she's also she's wearing a new hat these days, interim director of the Delaware Institute for Science and Technology. Dr. Harrington, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well, happy to be here.
I didn't just have you on the show to talk about movies. You just got a new grant, didn't you?
I did.
$700,000 grant. Tell us about that.
So it's a grant from a program that's administered by the National Science Foundation, but it's a joint program with the National Institute of Health and some other health agencies in Israel and Germany and France. And the grants are designed to bring together biologists, that's me, right, who are studying the basic biology of neurons and nerve cells, and bring them together with computer scientists or engineers, computational scientists, who can model and do simulations and think about kind of the mathematics of biology and try and bring those things together. So our proposal our grant is focused on work following the experiments that we've done in the lab earlier, looking at the basic electrical properties of motor neurons and understanding how they're changed by experience.
Now, you're a professor of biological sciences, but you're also, this is kind of interdisciplinary in its approach here. You're working with who on this project?
Oh, Dr. Tomasz Smolinski in computer science here at Delaware State University. So it could be a collaboration everywhere, but as it turns out, Dr. Smolinski had the perfect expertise, and he was right upstairs. So it was a really nice collaboration.
Now, before the show started here, we were talking about an application that just fascinates me. We've seen it in the movies, I think, in some of the superheroes, but where you can take a prosthetic and you could actually connect it to the physiology of a person and make it move just like my hand's moving now. Okay, we see this in the movies already.
Right.
But actually, this type of research is kind of helping us maybe get that way. Is that true?
Yes, it is. So motor neurons, the neurons that we study, are the neurons that sit in our spinal cord and connect to muscle and make our muscles contract, and that's how we move. And the thing is, if somebody has had to have, say, their hand amputated, maybe like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, which is the one that I remember, the motor neurons are still there. They're still there going into the stump, and they produce electrical signals. And those electrical signals that are produced in the stump are exactly the same as what was produced when the hand was there. So the reason our idea in pursuing our research is to understand how the motor neuron electrical signals change depending on different kinds of experience, and mostly we're looking at long-term activity, how they change over activity, so that down the road, eventually there's going to be advanced prosthetics that will be able to interpret those electrical signals arriving from the motor neurons and convert them into movement of the prosthetic. I'm kind of old school, sort of like that second Star Wars movie when Luke Skywalker is turning his hand around, this mechanical hand that's been attached to his wrist, and he controls it like it's his own hand.
Trust me, the current generation have reached back to see those.
They've seen those old ones too, yeah.
That sounds so interesting. You know, you've been here, my understanding, since 2001. You got here when Dr. DeLauder was the president, and then you were here for Dr. Sessoms, and now you're here for Dr. Williams. You've been here for a while. You've kind of witnessed the transformation here, haven't you?
It is so different. So when I moved here, I was a faculty member at Morehouse College in Atlanta for 4 years before I came here, and I moved with a grant. So I brought a grant with me funding the research I was doing at the time.
And what was that research about?
So I was studying, so I'm a neuroscientist, so I was studying the the brain activity of a predatory snail, it was funny, that was native to Georgia. So the snail would get its meals by following the slime trails of other snails and slugs, and it had had to evolve its own special sensory system in order to be able to do that. So it was unlike any other snails. So you remember that? Yeah, you came to the lab and we saw that. And I was not able to continue that research because the snails aren't here in Delaware, they're in Georgia. And it was just too hard to do the research with, there was no, I couldn't call Amazon and say, send me some snails, right? Couldn't get on the computer. So, but I brought the grant, but I continued that research for a while when I was here. And when I first moved here with the money, kind of where the institution was, is the idea was that research was something faculty did to entertain themselves. Right. It wasn't really considered something that was vital to the mission of our institution. It was just something for faculty to mess around with. And Sessoms, when President Sessoms came in, he had a different vision, and I think the board at the time had a different vision, that research is part of what universities do, and it's part of the educational mission, that if we're going to train the scientists of tomorrow, the next generation of scientists and science-savvy citizens, we have to get them hands-on experience with research in a lab. So now it's like 15, I'm in my 16th year. It has just been an amazing evolution in understanding the importance of research and scientific research in particular, but any kind of research, that's vitally part of the mission of our institution.
It seems like through that period of time, especially when, and we talk about Dr. Sessoms, Dr. Alan Sessoms, who was the president from 2003 to 2008, we were seeing some grants, but then we started seeing some bigger grants. We started seeing some hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants. And then we started seeing million-dollar grants.
Yeah.
You've seen million-dollar grants since you've been here. So I guess this is kind of emblematic of the transformation we have gone through, not just in terms of infrastructure or talent, but mindset.
Right. Yeah. Knowing that it's important, and then providing the support. So the administration sort of providing the support. The funny thing was, when I first came here, I had $100,000 worth of scientific equipment in lab in Georgia that Morehouse had said I could take with me. And it took me 6 months to convince the university that they needed to pay to move my equipment up, because otherwise they were going to have to give back the money that came with me, this grant. So it was just not really, people really hadn't made the connection about what research requires. Until now we have raised the money, we have a brand new science building on campus with state-of-the-art facilities, and it's been quite a transformation.
I know that some people, Dr. Sessoms was a controversial president. Not everybody liked him, but I've got to give a pitch for him here. You've got to give him some kudos for this this science aspect, or aspect of his legacy, because this was part of his leadership, wasn't it?
That was his vision, right? That research is part of the educational mission, and we weren't a full university if we weren't also doing research.
Yeah. Well, now tell me this. Okay, let's bring it back up to the present. Now, you are now, in addition to being the director of the Delaware Center for Neuroscience Research, you're now the interim director of the Delaware Institute for Science and Technology. Now, tell us about that. What does that encompass?
Well, it's very new, and so we're still sort of defining it. But as kind of the new leader, the direction I see this going is as an umbrella support structure that's going to support research across campus. So right now at Del State, because we're still developing, we have kind of islands of research. So we have optics, and then in my department, my old department, I guess now in biology, we have the neuroscience. But there's these islands of excellence, and then it's still developing. Our research potential is still developing in a lot of other departments. And so what I see the Delaware Institute for Science and Technology is doing is providing some support and infrastructure to expand research across the institution, to develop our behavioral research in psychology, in the nursing department, in sociology and social work.
Is that the next frontier for us?
I think so, yeah. Behavioral research and health-related research, sort of health behavior research in Department of Public and Allied Health. And so that's really what I'd like to see, is that we bring some of these resources, or expand the resources and support for research beyond natural science, beyond physics and chemistry and biology and computer science, into the behavioral sciences.
Sounds like there's some great things in the future for Delaware State University.
I hope so.
Dr. Harrington, thank you so much for being on my show. This cannot be the last time.
No, I enjoyed it. It was my pleasure.
Continue with what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another segment of DSU Inside Perspective. Everyone have a good day.